So let's talk about a little advice on being prepared to go out into the wilderness, uh, especially for people that are wanting to get out and start hiking and stuff and don't have any experience, or even somebody that has some experience but wanting to do bigger and better things. Um, Talk about some things that you could do just in case things go wrong and be a little bit more prepared for it. So one of the things you'll hear a lot is people talking about make sure somebody knows where you're going. So I'll add to that a little bit. Instead of just making sure they know where you're going, kind of give them an itinerary. Of course, part of that includes when you expect to return. That's the most important thing. But like there's a place locally to here, it's called Fern Cliff, and at one parking lot, one trailhead, there's 3 different trails on there. So being a little bit more specific about what trail you're planning on going on is very important in that situation, because if you do get lost or injured, uh, you want the searchers to find you as quickly as possible. And if they see your car is parked here, but there's 3 different trails, you don't want them wasting time going down the wrong trail. Um, so be very specific in what your plans are, what trails you're planning on doing, and all that kind of stuff. Another thing I would suggest that I don't hear much is take a selfie. Everybody loves taking selfies. Take a full body selfie of what you are wearing when you go out there that day. I've said in the past to do it while, maybe you get to the trailhead and then take the selfie and then send it to whoever your contact is and say, hey, I'm here, I'm getting ready to take off. But there's a good chance you might not get signal in that area. So take it before you leave the house with what clothes you're wearing, because what happens is if you do get lost and the searchers are contacting your family or whoever, or your family's contacting somebody to look for you, is what usually happens. And then they'll ask, okay, what's he wearing? And then the response is usually, I don't know, he's got a brown jacket, but then he's got a yellow one. He might be wearing the green one. Narrow it down for him. The more information the searchers have about you, the better off you'll be, because they'll be able to find you quicker. Another thing I don't hear a lot of people talk about is, actually I've never heard anybody talk about, along with your picture, take a picture of the bottom of your shoe. Might sound stupid, but I'll include a picture here of what I'm talking about. And in that picture, you can see there's 2 different footprints, 2 different people walk through there. So the nice thing about that is if they have a picture of you and it's a trail a lot of people are using, instead of them following random tracks thinking it might be you, that they can really narrow down that no, that's not them, oh, that's them right there. And if you're hiking like on the Appalachian Trail and you're wearing Lone Peaks, everybody out there is going to have pretty much the same tread as you. But even taking a picture of that in that situation, not so much if you have a brand new pair of shoes, but the more worn your shoes are, the more established the wear patterns are, because people walk different on their shoes and it wears your shoes, the soles, differently. An experienced tracker can look at that and tell your print from another print of the same shoe. And also you can include shoe size too, because if they have a similar shoe and it's a size 10 and you wear a size 8, they'll be able to tell. The more information you get. Getting lost in the woods, people talk about, I mean, like you look at shows like Naked and Afraid and stuff like that, they're out there for 21 days. You don't want to be out there for 21 days. You want to be out there for a couple of hours or one night at the most, so do everything you can to help them help you. I've heard, I'm not from the corporate world, I don't know much about emails and stuff like that, but I heard this woman said that she will find the nearest authorities, whether it's Sheriff's Department, Forest Service, or whatever, and she will contact them, get an email address from them and everything, and she will set up an email to automatically send, like if she says she's going to be back at 5 o'clock, that email will send at 6 o'clock. It will automatically send to them to let them know that, hey, something happened. I didn't make it back. Please come and find me. I guess you could do emails like that. I've never messed with them. But if you do something like that, make sure that there's going to be somebody there at that time of day to actually get the email, so you don't have to wait till the following morning for them to come in to even see the email. So double check on that. But make sure somebody knows where you're at, what time you're planning on leaving, and what time you're planning on getting back. If you can get signal at the trailhead before you take off, whoever your contact is, if you end up leaving late, like say you were planning on getting there and hitting the trail at 9 o'clock, but you stopped somewhere and had lunch or ran into friends or whatever and didn't get started till 12, let your contact know that, because that 3-hour window, it really changes the scope of the search. What areas the people that are searching for you are going to determine, okay, if they think you left at 9, they're going to waste time expanding the area out a lot bigger than you need to if you didn't leave until noon. So all the information that you can will help you out if you end up in a bad situation, whether it's just getting lost or having a medical emergency or whatever. The more information they have, the better it is going to be for you. And you're ultimately putting their lives at risk coming out looking for you. So you want to make it limit their exposure to terrain, elements, whatever, so do that. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of gear. Well, no, first I'm going to talk about clothing. I'm definitely not dressed to be out in the woods. I'm wearing a cotton hoodie and a cotton t-shirt. I'm just out in my backyard, so I'm not going out in the woods. Wearing clothing and all this gear that I'm talking about, a lot of people will say, I'm just going on a half-mile loop. I don't need to do that. Don't let the word just get you in trouble. The Gilligan and Skipper, they were just going out on a 3-hour cruise, and you've seen what happened to them. And unless you got somebody like the professor with you to build all kinds of stuff, you're going to have a pretty rough time. So the people that get lost and get hurt and this and that, a lot of them, they were just going on a half-mile loop. They were just going on a well-established trail that a lot of other people are going on. They were just going on a short day hike. They were just going on a trail that 100 people use every day. Don't let just get you in trouble. Going out, your clothing, I recommend absolutely checking the forecast for the next 24 hours. I really would say 36 to 48, but absolutely minimum check it for 24 hours. And especially in the fall and the spring, because the weather changes can be so drastic from day to night. And if you're going out and it's 70 degrees and you're out there in a t-shirt because you're just going on a half-mile loop, and something happens, you end up out there overnight and it drops down into the mid-40s and it's raining and 30-mile-an-hour winds, you're going to be hurting very quickly. So make sure that you are prepared with your clothing for what the weather is going to be for the next 24 hours. And make sure that I'm going to skip ahead of a little bit of the first aid stuff. Any medication that you might need, like if you're diabetic or have some other medical issue where some medication might be important to you, make sure you have enough medication to get through, again, at least 24 hours, if not 36 or 48, but at least 24 hours, because you don't want to go out there and get delayed because you got injured and you're slow getting back, and then now because you don't have the medication that you need, now you made the situation worse because now you got another medical emergency, or if you get lost or whatever. You want to minimize your risk to all that. So be prepared for at least 24 hours from the time you're leaving. And the gear I'm going to talk about, one thing that's nice about fall and spring is people are wearing jackets as opposed to winter too, but as opposed to summer, more people are wearing jackets. So You might not want to carry anything, but at least if you're wearing a jacket, you got pockets and stuff that you can carry. A few little things that make your life a little bit easier if something goes wrong on the trail. Um, so, uh, um, make sure that you are dressed for 24 hours. One thing that people with the dressing, everybody recommends layering. I recommend layering too. So as because the whole idea is you don't want to sweat, even if you got, I always suggest wearing fast drying, moisture wicking clothing. But even that, if you're sweating a lot or if you get rain a lot, it's going to be wet and you're going to get cold. So um, the only way that layering works is as you start getting warm, you start taking off layers. What happens to a lot of people is they get out there and they don't want to. It's starting to get hot and they don't want to take off their jacket because they got nowhere to carry it. They don't want to carry it in their hand while they're walking down the trail, and they don't want to wrap it around, tie it around the waist or whatever. So what they end up doing is they end up wearing all their layers, even though they're sitting there sweating while they're walking down the trail. They just don't want to take off the layers. It's inconvenient. So carrying a backpack, some kind of backpack, a little small, like this is a pretty small bag, and this particular one has a water bladder and tube and everything, but something like that, just to throw your extra layers in, and then or carry extra layers if it might be getting cooler, or maybe it might be rain. If it rains in the afternoon, if you got a rain jacket in your backpack, carrying a little backpack like that, it's so much better to have an ability to take off your layers or to keep extra layers with you in case you need them. The gear I'm going to talk about is first, let's talk about navigation. Sorry, I'm getting distracted, but first let's talk about navigation. A lot of people use their phone for navigation. That's good, but if you're using your phone for your navigation and then something happens, you have a medical emergency, or you get lost, and your phone's already drained down the battery quite a bit, then you might not have enough battery life to do what you need to do to get help. And especially if it's an area where you're not getting a good signal, the battery's going to drain. Whatever's left of the battery is going to drain really, really quickly. So what I suggest is, most people have an extra phone from an old carrier, an old phone that they used to have or whatever still works, but they upgraded their phone, or maybe a friend or family member has one. That's what I do. I have an old phone. I use the Wi-Fi at the house, or wherever you got Wi-Fi. You can download the apps, navigation apps that work for you in your area. Do some research on that, and I download the maps and make sure that they're downloaded for offline use. So because the phone not hooked up to a carrier is not going to have use when you get out, a service when you get out there. But if its maps are downloaded for offline use, you'll still be able to use them. So that I carry that extra phone for navigation, and that way I don't have to use my phone. I don't have to use a battery on it at all. I definitely suggest doing that. And then plus you're going to be taking that phone in and out of your pockets, checking your maps, doing everything with that. The more you do that, the more you got a chance of dropping it and breaking it. If you're using your actual phone and do that, now not only is your phone possibly broken, so you got no navigation, but you also have no way to call and communicate with the outside world. They got stuff like these Zoleo and the InReach. Zoleo is about $199. These go $300, $400, $500. They're nice. I do a lot, and so over the years I've justified the cost of these. But for most people just going out on a hike or whatever, having a phone is great. I always suggest having paper maps and compasses, backups. Definitely recommend doing that, learning those skills and everything, because any kind of electronics can break, and they will break at the most inopportune times. The gear I'm going to talk about now is, one thing I want to say with that is you have to use it, be comfortable with it, and be familiar with it before you go out there. because there was a guy that got lost. He was a deer hunter. He was going to be camping out for the whole weekend. He got lost Friday evening. He had a backpack, all the gear he needed to camp out there for the weekend, and he had a shotgun. He got lost, and he panicked. He got overwhelmed and everything, and he ended up taking off his backpack, setting it down, setting up against a tree, and he died from exposure. He had all the gear. He had a sleeping bag. He had a tent. He had everything he needed to not only survive but live comfortably. And just the panic overwhelmed him, and he leaned up against the tree, fell asleep, and ended up, because of exposure to the elements, he ended up dying. So the more you are familiar with your equipment, and the more you are, the more skills that you build. You can bring a lighter, but if you're not good at fire starting, you're going to have a rough time unless you just get lucky. So building all those skills and using your equipment, testing it out, making sure it works before you actually get out there and need it, that will help you to keep from making that kind of mistake. So little things that you can carry. A lot of people get survival kits, and it's got fishing hooks and trail snare wires and all this kind of stuff. I don't want to stay out there for 3 or 4 weeks where I have to, if I'm lost, where I have to hunt for food and all that kind of stuff. If I'm lost, if I'm unexpectedly out in the woods, I'm going to get back home. My dog's at home waiting on me. I want to come and see him. So I want to get found as quickly as possible. Elements will kill you first, so make sure you're prepared for them. The next thing is water. Food, you can go a couple days without water. Food is way down the list. It's you can go a few weeks without food and everything. So you don't have to get excessive with the gear you carry. I mean, if you're just bringing gear to help you if you get lost or something, you don't need a whole lot of gear. Excessive gear like that, you're not going to be like those guys on Naked and Afraid and stuff like that out there for 21 days. Hopefully, chances are you're going to be found the next morning. But let's make it easier on the searchers. You've notified everybody what your intentions are throughout the day, what you're wearing, what your route's going to be, all that kind of stuff. You gave as much information as you can, just in case something goes wrong. And so now, if something does go wrong, let's talk about signaling. So one thing you can do, now we're assuming your phone, if you're out in the woods, there's a good chance you're going to be out away from service. So you got to check that out. You got to assume that that's not going to work. If that works, great. You can make a phone call, say, hey, I'm here, come find me. But if not, a whistle. The sound will travel farther than your voice, especially if you're continually yelling. Your voice will diminish, the whistle won't. Blast of 3. If you blow 3 times, wait. Blow 3 times, wait. That's a signal to anybody that somebody needs help. Same with that guy that was lost, that hunter. He could have fired a shotgun 3 times and tried to get some attention. You got regular whistles like that. You got some stuff like this. This has got a compass and everything on it. I wouldn't really trust my life to that compass, but it's a whistle. You can find some of these that have also a waterproof match container with a whistle on top. That does 2 things. You got a signaling device and you got some matches. I built fires, flint and steel. I've done the bow drill. I've done all that kind of stuff. I have magnifying glasses. I've used my prescription glasses to start a fire. I've started fires many ways, and I'm pretty confident in it. But I always carry a lighter, because if you're out there in a survival situation, it's not a game. You want to just build a fire, get you some heat, get you some shelter, and all that kind of stuff. So don't skimp on a lighter. There's a lot of them lighters where you can actually see the fluid in there. Those things don't work. They will let you down. Most of the time they'll be half full or more, and they won't light, or the wheel on the striker will fall off and stuff. Spend the extra few cents and get a Bic lighter. Your life's on the line. or and if you got your kids with you and stuff, their lives are on the line. So don't skimp on a lighter. Get a good quality Bic lighter. There's a lot of stuff you can carry. You know, I talked about pockets and stuff. You got like these survival blankets and everything. I, I. So, if you wrap yourself up like that in a survival blanket, you're gonna be nice and toasty for maybe 30 minutes. And then, because all the condensation is built up from your body heat and everything, you're going to start getting cold because you're wet, and you're going to continue to get colder and colder and colder. If I was using something like this, I would set it up as a wind block or something, so I have some air between me and it, and kind of blocking the wind, or maybe some kind of thing to block some rain or something like that. I would not wrap it up like that, because you're going to be hurting pretty quick. And then once you're lost, it's dark, now you're wet and cold because you used that the way they show on the picture, and you're just going to be hurting pretty bad. Speaking of being lost, one thing I forgot to say earlier is if you think you're lost, stop. You'll hear that all the time. When you think you're lost, just stop. Don't keep trying. The more you roam trying to find your way out, the harder it's going to be for the people searching. If you think you're lost, stop. Just get prepared to spend the night. Do whatever you need to do. And then the next morning, then you can work on other things. But for that night, just quit walking. Ponchos, they got clear ponchos and everything. And this is a heat retaining poncho kit. Try them out, especially if it's windy and raining. Get out in your yard and try it out. You might find that it flops around so much that you end up getting wet. So maybe you'll need to bring some kind of rope or something to tie it up with and everything. And then you can stick a rope down inside the bag with it, so you got it with you, so you're prepared. Try that stuff out. See if you could build some kind of shelter or wind block with it, because it might not be raining, but if you got that little poncho with you, and the clear ones are smaller, they're more the size of this, but you got that little poncho with you, and you've got experience, and you know you can build some kind of wind block shelter or something, or rain shelter or something. Then good. When you get in that situation, okay, I know what to do. I can do this. I've done it before. That confidence and not panicking and everything. This is the same thing like that emergency blanket. It's got silver on the inside. It would be a little bit better, I imagine, because you get some airflow in there, stuff. One thing you might help out with that is wearing the silver on the outside, because then that could also act as a signaling tool too. And even if it's not windy, raining, or cold, if you had something with the silver, either one of these, you could set them up as a big signaling thing. I carry, this is a little signaling panel, but you could use something like that if you don't need to wear it to signal. Bigger items, especially if you're carrying a backpack, something like this. I used one like this. It didn't have the reflective material on the inside. It was called a tube tent, and you just tie the string for one tree, run it through there, and tie it to the other tree, and then you can use some sticks and stuff to hold these out, put them inside the tent, and push out. One thing is, if you want to carry something like this, try it out in your yard. And one thing you might find is you want to kind of close up one end of it to kind of block the wind. Make sure there is some airflow so you don't trap all that condensation. But you can tape it up. And as far as like tape, if you got your lighter, take you some duct tape and wrap several wraps around here, and then you've got some duct tape to do something like that with, you know. Or the tarp might slide. You might keep sliding down the string or something. Maybe a little duct tape on each end can keep that from happening. You won't know until you try, but the more you use the gear, trying it at home, getting confident with it and everything, it will help to keep you from panicking if you do need to use it. Because you can say, okay, I'm lost, I'm going to have to be prepared to spend the night here. This is the gear I've got. I know what it's capable of, what its limits are, and if I got lost out in the woods now, I would just say, okay, well, I used to live there, but now I live here. I'm confident at fire building, I'm confident at building natural shelters and all that kind of stuff. I don't have to worry about panicking. I know what to do. And the more skills you have, the less gear you gotta have. But gear's always cool too. And makes your life easier, like I said, carrying a light. Some kind of light source. I always carry every day. Even like today, I'm not even leaving the house, but I carry a flashlight all the time. But when I'm going out in the woods, I carry a headlamp. Because if you're trying to build a fire or set up camp or build a shelter or whatever, having a headlamp and having your hands free is nice. And then I use them backpacking and stuff too. Same situation around camp and everything. Or if I want to take off early in the morning before the sun comes up, I've got my hands are free. I got a good light source and everything. They make some that are rechargeable only, some that take batteries, some that take batteries that are rechargeable. It's up to you. There's legitimate arguments on either case. Just do whatever you think is right. I don't like lights that you got to click 17 times to get it to shut off once you turn it on. This is pretty simple. I bought this at Walmart. I got a nice area light. I love this light because it's got a nice area light when I'm working, and then the spotlight when I need it. This button's for the area light. This button's for the spotlight. You got all different kinds of headlamps and stuff. Make sure it's charged before you go. Carry it in your pocket, carry it in your pack, whatever. Carry it with you. A little charger. This thing, if you need to, you can charge up your phone with it. If you get out there and your battery's low, I always test these out because some of these you get do really good and some of them not so much. But I can go from an almost dead battery to fully charged and then about half a charge again. So 1.5 charges on my particular phone with this particular charging bank. So another thing, water. After the elements, if you survive the elements and everything, water is your next issue. You go a couple of days without water, you're going to start having some medical problems, and even a shorter term, you might get like pounding headaches and everything, and that's going to be really hard to concentrate on doing anything. And if you're trying to build a fire and your head's just sitting there pounding, it's going to make it a whole lot harder. So having some water source, I suggest anytime you go out carrying a liter of water with you, definitely. I know a lot of people won't do it because they're just going out for a little short trip, but that's what I suggest. These Sawyer water filters, this is Sawyer Mini. You can buy them at Walmart for like $20-something. It comes with a water bag, like a 1 liter bag, and you could take that bag and wrap it around this and take your rubber band, and now you got your little kit where you can filter some water and everything. They got Sawyer Squeeze. These are like $30-something. Works the same, but it's got a different flow rate. I don't recommend any particular filter. I like MSR filters, but they're bigger. They got a pump and everything. That's what I like. These are some cheaper budget options that work pretty good. Another option you could do is like these Aqua Tabs. I have a liquid version of them that's in a plastic container, and that's nice. I could stick them in my pocket if I wanted to. If I didn't have a water bottle or some water container, if you carry a Ziploc bag, a 1 quart Ziploc bag, I took a liter bottle, poured it all into a 1 quart Ziploc bag, and only had about this much left of the water. So a quart bag will hold almost a liter of water. Most of these tabs and everything are used to treat a liter of water. So there you go. It's not, you're not going to be able to carry it with you and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be really awkward, and if you put it in your backpack, it could come open or whatever. It's going to be kind of stay near the water source, treat it, wait 30 minutes or whatever, and then drink it. But it's an option. And if you carried your electronic stuff and headlamp and everything in a Ziploc bag in your backpack or in a jacket pocket or whatever, because you want to keep these dry, then you could use that water bag, that quart bag, as a way to treat water if you needed it. So that's it. This is just some small stuff you can carry in a pocket. Um, the biggest thing with, like I said, with people being lost, I was I worked with search and rescue. I worked in EMS. I was a soldier. All this different things. Got a wide variety of experience. And one thing I absolutely know is everybody says the elements will get you first. It's very true, but actually panic will get you first. If you're not prepared, if you're not ready, if you don't have any experience, that panic will cause you to make very bad decisions and everything. So have some basic gear to signal, to start a fire, all that kind of stuff, and learn some skills. Get good at fire building. Get good at reading a map and compass. Get good at navigation. You can build those skills over time. But don't let the just get you. You're just going out. Here's another poncho emergency. There's 2 packs of ponchos, the clear ones. There's $1 or $2 at Walmart. So I definitely suggest going out. I know a lot of people don't want to do it. Just going out on this little trail. I don't need to carry anything with me. A lot of this stuff you can throw in your pocket. If you're carrying a backpack, you can carry a little bit more stuff, But I hope this helps somebody. If you have any advice, any suggestions, anything you disagree with, please comment on there, because the more input people can get, the more it will help people. Input from different views, different opinions, different experiences. So please comment on the video, and hope this helps somebody, and get out there and enjoy nature, man. We need to get back to nature. Get out there and see all the beautiful scenery. It's springtime, the flowers are coming back and everything, and it's beautiful out there.